Welcome to Generation Jones, Too Young to Be Old. I'm your host, Wendi Cooper, and this is where we have conversations with remarkable people over 50 who have shaped our world. I do hope you enjoy the show. My guest today is Robynn Lynn. She's an actress, producer, and an Instagram influencer at 53. Her infectious and funny personality and her passion to be of service to others is what attracts people to her on Instagram as robynlynn.ageless, or as we like to call her, Robynn Ageless. Growing up in the world of fashion and nutrition, Robynn learned early on how to create, inspire, navigate, promote, follow direction, and give direction. Robynn says, changing careers in my 40s can be a bit daunting, but I've never looked back. Whether I'm acting, producing, or encouraging others to live agelessly, it's that past experience that enables me to put my most creative and authentic self out there. Robynn Lynn is a pro-ager and truly is living her life agelessly.
Thank you, Wendi. It is so good to be here on Generation Jones. I'm so excited to actually finally see you face to face. Well, actually,
we are face to face, but we are face to face.
We are.
Yeah, I'm staring right at your face. If I was in your living room, I wouldn't be this close to you actually, because I'm pretty close to you right now.
We are.
I mean, I could just like reach out and kiss your cheek. Your pink cheek. So anyway, welcome to Generation Jones. You know, this is where we talk about being too young to be old, which I think is a very pressing topic these days. I really like to talk about what it's like from a kind of a deeper perspective, you know, not the surface perspective of, you know, we have enough money to retire, what's our next job, blah, 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 that kind of stuff. So you can read about that everywhere. You just go on Wall Street Journal and you probably find articles on aging and retirement. But I met you I've met quite a few ladies through Instagram. Mm-hmm. And this is the phenomena that is sweeping Instagram, is the pro-aging, the ageless community, because you're Robynn Ageless on Instagram, and how it's just proliferating. Instagram is like there are so many women and men that are over 50 that are blowing it up on Instagram.
It is crazy. It is crazy the amount that is on there. I've always heard that Instagram is for the millennials. And when I got on there with robynlynn.ageless, I was like, maybe there'll be 50, 100. I am just blown away. I am absolutely blown away.
When did you first go onto Instagram? Because I think we might have discovered it around the same time, but how long have you actually been Robynn Ageless on Instagram?
Robynn Ageless has been since August.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
not very long.
You started, no. I've been on Instagram as I am Wendi Cooper, which is like me. And I've always had my C-Spot talk because I've always had like my other radio shows, but I never really cared about Instagram. I didn't care. You know, it was there. It was just there. And it was like, what is Instagram? And then I started because I have a millennial son and, you know, niece and nephews. And so anyway, then I just started, you know, like looking at Instagram. And then I came up with the idea for this show. And I don't know why I came up with it other than something from the universe was telling me to talk about age and wisdom. And then I started to discover all this stuff that's going on. And then I discovered Instagram and it was like, holy crap. You got to check it out, everybody listening. You have to, because Robynn is an influencer on Instagram. And I believe from being a marketer, that Instagram isn't really truly about how many followers that you have. I really believe it's quality over quantity. If you really want to build a long-term sustainable brand, you know,
really
personal brand.
It really is. There's a term that they're using now called a micro-influencer. And it's when the relationships that you're building are real, they're genuine. The numbers are smaller, but the relationships are real, you know, and that is really the name of the game right now. Who cares if you have 100,000 followers if you have a 1% engagement rate? It means nothing.
Yeah, it means, yeah. Yeah.
You,
And
you
it's interesting because there's the way that it works. I learn something new every day about Instagram, you
yeah.
know.
Uh-huh.
Do you do all of your Instagramming? Do you do it or do you have someone help you do it?
I do all of it right now.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Oh my God.
It is
So
so much work.
it is because I mean, you're wanting to actually have a relationship with these women, and there's a few men on there that follow me as well that I've become really good friends with. And you've got to engage in those conversations. You have to become a part of what's happening in their world so that they want to become a part of what's happening in your world. And it's all about getting that communication out about that same message, the pro aging. You know, um, there's so many people out there who are still living in yesteryear and they don't really understand that they can get out there now and be the person that they really want to be. They can pursue their dreams, they can live with passion, and they can have anything that they really want to go after.
So do you think it starts it's okay, so it's a scary proposition, right? I mean, the reality of it is it's very scary. I found myself personally in a place where, art is imitating life or life is imitating art. I have no idea which one it is, but all I know is that when I started to talk about this and do this show, my life was very different. I had a job that was paying me really nicely. I didn't really know that there was this whole ageism thing going on out there. I knew, but I didn't know to the extent of how it was affecting people until I started interviewing people and reading books for doing interviews, and then learning about the second half of life and moving into the second half of life and reading those books. So, everything changed for me once I was laid off from my job, which is the life imitating art or whatever that saying is, right? It's where I was just doing my podcast for fun, which I've always done my radio shows in the past, just as a side gig because I love doing it. Not to make money, not to do anything like that. I just love doing it. And this podcast was about getting back into it, yet I now find myself wanting to use the podcast like I think you're using Instagram. My point is that you're using Instagram like I'm using my podcast to create a voice or to create a message and to bring people into one place that are basically going through the same thing. It's a really ubiquitous problem and inner turmoil of trying to find your purpose at a certain point in your life, right?
It really is. Wendy, I believe strongly in using your voice as a platform, to go after whatever you can to help other people to feel good. And it doesn't matter what you do. I mean, I have, other jobs, I have things that I do. I'm acting. I just started producing, just finished my first short film, and we're in film
Yay.
festivals now. I know. So, it's not like I have to do this, but it's my passion, it's my desire. And it always has been, I mean, I would give up everything in a heartbeat to do nothing but this because the messages that I get from people almost on a daily basis right now saying that, I've inspired them to go out and do something, or they've been really depressed lately, but looking and seeing, how much fun that people are having who are this age make them want to go out there and do that. They start realizing life isn't over. Maybe they're getting a divorce now, or maybe their children are moving off and starting their own lives. And so they're those empty nesters, and they don't know what to do because their lives have been wrapped up around all of these other people. Or maybe they're approaching a retirement, and they're like, "What do I do now?" I feel like I'm too young to sit back and be on a rocking chair on a porch like maybe their dad did. So people are in a new place today,
Yes.
and it's important to get that message out there to people that life is not over, it's really just beginning.
Yeah, okay, so I want to read something that you have on your website. We're on to
Mhm.
a really great topic. I love talking about this. And I love talking about this with people like yourself. So, a lot of times, some of my shows we're not talking about this kind of stuff, but I do love this topic. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, so on your website, you say, as an influencer, I strive to remind people, especially midlife women, that age is just a number and we should never let it define us. There's so much living we have to do, and doing it playfully, healthfully, and stylishly is the way to go. And that's really who you are on this is what attracted me to you. You're always smiling. You're this is on Instagram, everybody, right? I'm not talking to Robyn. I'm looking at Robyn on Instagram, and she's always smiling, and she's always posting and cheerful, and making comments and answering and kind of bringing together a community. You make a real effort in doing that in a very positive way.
Thank you. Thank you. It's, again, it goes back to that same thing. It's a platform to use your voice to make that message heard. I do believe in being ageless. It started, I think, really when I was, graduating college. I was in the fashion industry, and I was working with Escada and managing one of their stores. I was doing managing and marketing for a multi-million dollar store, and I was 22. And even, the CEO of the company said, "Robyn, do not let anybody know your age. You're too young for this position." And I'm like, "What do you mean I'm too young?" And so I started even back then living agelessly. And I'm like, it's not about that number. It's about what do I bring to the project. And I've kept that my entire life. So as I got into my 40s, I would have people ask me, "What are you doing? What do you mean you're changing careers?" I started acting when I was 40, 44, I think.
Oh my God,
You
really?
know, yeah, yeah. And everybody's just like, "What are you doing? Are you crazy?" 40s are over in the acting world. I'm like, no, it's not. It's my life has just begun, and I'm not an age. I am whatever they need me to be. I have a castable number. With my agent, when we sat down, I'm like, "What age do you think I can play?" And she gave me a range. I'm like, "Okay, that's my age." And you don't have to live according to a number. You don't let that number dictate who you are. You want to look inside of you. You want to find out who you are and let that shine out.
But here's the thing. Okay, now I'm going to bring something else up. Here's the
Uh-oh.
thing that, like we just talked about, people are feeling that. People are feeling the transition into a second half in life, right? Of life, which is very different than the first half. The first half is about hunting and gathering and accumulating and finding yourself and making lots of friends and doing all of that stuff. And then the second half is kind of reinventing yourself and really living your purpose and wanting to not, wanting to leave maybe a legacy or doing that thing that you've always wanted to do, but maybe you can't afford it. Maybe you don't have the support group around you that you can take that dive into a new career as much as you really want to. And then you start to do things for other people as opposed to doing things for yourself. But this time of our life should always be, especially for people that are been single moms or have had several relationships that haven't worked out, and you have to take care of yourself, right?
Right.
You have to take care of yourself. You kind of have to put yourself first for the first time maybe in your life, because you're
Right.
never going to realize your dream, your purpose, your fulfillment in life unless you do that.
Exactly. Exactly. You have to be your top priority. I love the scripture in the Bible that says, "Love your neighbor as you love yourself." That is so important because you have to love yourself before you can really, truly love anyone else. You have to put yourself first. And in my household, my health is my number one priority over even my husband. The only reason is because if my health is no good, I can't be there for him. I can't support him. I can't, you know, see him tomorrow and suddenly it'll start taking away his priorities. He's not able to do what he needs to do if he has to be looking after me. So making yourself that priority keeps things together. I'm not saying that, if your baby starts, falls down, that you should be saying, "Oh no, well, I have to drink my spirulina. Sorry, honey." It's not anything like that. You have to use your wisdom. And we're at an age now where we understand wisdom. We know what that's about. But your priority has to be taking care of yourself, at whatever level you are. And it can begin small. If you are that single mom and you're living paycheck to paycheck, start small. very, very small. Just start thinking about what are your dreams. Start making a list, reevaluate your life and where you are. Can you make a job change? Can you start putting some resumes out there? Can you start talking to your friends and saying, hey, I really love to do this. Do you know anyone who is doing something like that? I can get involved with them, intern a little bit. So much is happening online now that you
But
can get in
it
project.
yes, online you can and things like that. But as you get older, also it does become more difficult in the workplace, right? It becomes much more difficult. It's said that if you lose your job when you're over 50 or 55, that's going to take you 3 times longer to find another job if you do find another job. So that's kind of where that reinvention thing comes in, where I've always been an entrepreneur, so it's the only job I ever had was this last job I had for the past year that sucked my soul, and I admittedly say it sucked my soul for a paycheck. That was a wake up call for me that it that yeah, now I have to really, oops, stand by. Now I have to really kind of shift my thinking and my focus and what I'm doing. But it's really wonderful that that today's world, technology, my voice is so scratchy today, gives us a platform like the internet. I mean, can you imagine 20 years ago? 20, 30, let's just say 20 years ago, because 20 years ago I was 43. And the internet, I can remember I worked on a project. It was called the World Wide Web in a box.
Right.
This was a show I was working on, and the World Wide Web in a box. It was like this brand new awesome thing, the World Wide Web in a box. Oh my God! And now to think how far we've come and the ability that technology really has, that gives us, forget about everybody younger, that gives people the ability to reinvent themselves. At the end of the day, Robyn, that's still a very scary thing for most people,
It
right?
is. It is. That's why you start small. You don't.
Yeah, but even starting small is hard. It's a, uh, I, it's, it's more of a, what do you got to lose attitude you have to kind of have, right? You know?
True.
Yeah.
That's true. It's like it's now or never,
Yeah.
literally. You know, and it's living agelessly is not just about a job, though, Wendy. You know, go to your friend and say, "Hey, let's do a makeover on each other. Let's get the latest magazine."
Oh God, I would never let a friend make me over.
Well, Wendy. Go to Sephora. You can get a free makeover at
Oh, I
Sephora.
wouldn't let them do it either. I have worn the same makeup and the same eyes and the same hair and the same everything for so long. It's like anytime somebody tries to change me
Yeah,
at all,
yeah.
my best girlfriend is a makeup artist, and when I got married to a husband a very long time ago, she came and she did my makeup, and I kicked her out of the room. I said, Janine, get out of here. No, I'm not doing that. Yeah, but anyway,
Right.
yeah, I'm weird like that.
It's also a difference. I mean, you live in LA. You know, you have people surrounding you on a daily basis who care about staying on trend.
Hmm.
They care about what they look like. There are so many people who live in small towns, and everybody around them lives, you know,
In a smaller town.
in a smaller town. You know, I'm from, I've lived in Fort Lauderdale for over 30 years, and we just got a place up in the mountains of North Carolina. And I am like an alien to these people. I walk into the gas station and they're just kind of like looking at me like, where are you from? You're not from around here. And it's sad because the women want to do something different for themselves. They want to be up to date, but the surroundings are telling them, no, no, don't do
That's such an interesting take. I never, you know, it, that middle America is always is the huge target market for pretty much every CPG, every consumer product, the goods there is, especially for in the infomercial industry for like Proactive and Crepe Race and all the Guthy-Ranker products that are on air. They really rely on they don't rely on New York, Atlanta. and Los Angeles for their products to be shipped and sold every day in refillments, and they look to the middle America, and that's really what you're kind of you're talking about. You're talking about all the women and men out there that don't have a lifeline anywhere,
Right.
right? The internet kind of is their lifeline, but they get to live vicariously through you on Instagram, right?
They do, and hopefully they're inspired by some of what they see, and they begin looking in magazines. They begin looking elsewhere to see what is available for me. What can I do? I'm not stuck in this place anymore. I was somebody on Instagram made a comment yesterday talking about what society thinks and does that hold people back, and especially as a pro ager. And it really does. That shook me to the core because it was a while ago. It's like 10 years ago. There was a young girl up in North Carolina who wanted to be pretty, and everybody around her said, "Oh, no, no, you don't want to do that. Just be yourself." And she was like, "But you don't understand. Myself is something different than what you're expecting of me." And they're like, "Well, then you need to change." That little girl committed suicide. It's I don't mean it to sound corny. I really don't. But nothing makes me happier and makes me feel more fulfilled than meeting up with some of the people that might be from Instagram, maybe they're from a website, wherever they might be, who tell me that something I did or said has changed their lives for the better. And it's if I could have, a handful of those people, I would think that okay, my job is done and I am feeling pretty darn fulfilled right now.
That's awesome because I don't think that that is everyone's attitude that's kind of on Instagram.
I'm sure it's not. I'm sure it's not. But that's the whole reason I'm on there.
Yeah.
And when I got that first email, I literally I took it to my husband and I started crying. And I'm like, they're listening to me
Mhm.
and I'm helping them.
Mhm.
I am actually helping them. And I have to be careful because then I took that email and almost went into a therapy session with him. I'm like, okay, I've got to stop doing that because I'm not a therapist, you know.
Yeah,
But
you have to kind of be careful because have you ever consulted in any way anywhere? I was a speaker for a very long time to inventors,
uh
and I created programs for inventors, and this was something that everyone knew me for in my late 40s and 50s. But what happened was, and I can't imagine now because every once in a while I will comment on LinkedIn or online on some invention thing or product, like an inventor says something about a product, and I just go, hey, okay, I got to be honest with you. This is what you need to do, blah, 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 blah. And I'm always honest. That was my thing, integrity and honesty. And uh, people really start to like see you as the doctor, right? And then they want free advice all the time.
right.
And then all of a sudden you're getting blamed for things,
Uh-huh.
or you're spending a lot of time babysitting people that typically that's not, you know, you want to have a ubiquitous message that reaches a lot of people without having to, or maybe you don't, maybe you want to deal with them one on one. But when it starts to be a one on one back and forth, more than just kind of, hey, when next time you're in Fort Lauderdale, let's, get together, have a coffee, go for a walk, get to know each other, kind of thing, then that becomes a consulting business or a coaching business.
Right. Right. I used to actually coach people with holistic nutrition. I was certified in holistic nutrition, and that was my every single day. And that was tough. That was really, really tough because you do, at the end of the day, have to let go of that person and let them live it on their own. So I do understand that. And so I try to draw that line as to how much advice that I give, so I've gotten much better to where I can now, end it with, I hope tomorrow is better and just remember I love you and I'm watching. Bye-bye.
Gotta go.
Gotta go. Um, and I then I do really try to bond with that person and I will, watch and comment on what's happening in their lives and try to inspire them continuing in that same message, that same perspective. But yeah, I have learned how to draw that line so that I don't become that crutch for them
Are you
because that
planning on
could be
doing an
even more dangerous.
Sorry, are you planning on doing like any kind of like newsletter, or are you having people kind of when they if they go to your website, are you getting them to opt in with an email address so that you can send them something or
Well, I'm working on Life, and there is a link on it, a link for that on my website right now. I'm hoping that that website, Life, will be live by the end of this month. And I'm going to have a newsletter. I want to be able to, have other people on there who are actually out there pursuing their goals in different ways, whether it's career, style, whatever it might be. Be able to have those people on there, just written out interviews so that people can see examples, as well as having trends of what's happening with, you know, style, with makeup, all kinds of different things. Um, I'm also working with another girl who is here local, Melanie Silk. She is another amazing pro ager and blogger. We're getting together with probably about 20, 25 women here this month while I'm in town. And just making it a whole day of networking and taking pictures and having fun and helping to inspire people. And we even have somebody from Chicago who's wanting to fly down just for the day. So it's amazing. And I want to be able to start doing that, in different cities, getting together with people and just being one on one and saying, here, we are actually here to support you and help you to take this next step and to learn how to live agelessly and to not be afraid to live that ageless life.
Well, I think that you inspire me. Everybody that I have on the show kind of inspires me. It's like I think I have the like Bobby Parker Hall, yourself, Bridget Long, Mary Frischman. Those the all of those ladies, all of those interviews, they all came from me finding or us connecting somehow on Instagram. That's how it happened.
Yeah,
And it wasn't like anybody was looking for each other though. We just kind of eventually all found each other, you know.
right.
I think
Iron
the
sharpens iron. So I think the people of like minded, they just kind of gravitate towards each other.
Yeah, well, we were all freaking we were all like amazed at the fact that all these older people were on Instagram. We all say the same thing. It was like, oh my God, who knew? Who knew that all of these people were on Instagram?
I know.
Right? It's not like just a millennial thing or a younger person thing. It is definitely, even my son who's 27, who's the artist, he only has Instagram for his art.
Mhm.
He doesn't really use Instagram for anything else. And his girlfriend, Sarah, she is younger than him, and her Instagram is very limited. It's really limited.
Yeah,
She'll post stories every once in a while, but it's not like they're using Instagram the way that we're using Instagram. This was my point to Mary the other day when I was talking to her, that we use it differently. I'm convinced from coming from I'm a marketer, right? Like that's what I do, and I see that we use it differently. We are in these conversations. They're not in the conversations, by the way.
mhm,
They're not using it like, talking to each other and in conversations and making comments and stuff like that. They just, no. My son Chance has never had a Facebook page.
right,
He's 27.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, I think a lot of social media is for us, us. We use it a lot more. I think that they do.
yeah, yeah. So why do you think
That's kind of weird to think about.
why do you think that we use Instagram as a form of conversation more so than millennials do?
Because I don't see them doing that.
Right.
I mean, I don't see them. I follow quite a few of them because they're in my world, like my son's friends and his art and his downline of art and all of that stuff. So I see, and I'm not following it as the mom. I'm following it as C Spot Talk, so they don't even know it's Chance's mom following, right?
Right.
So it's like I see what they're doing, and it's not as conversational. It's not as interactive.
Right. But do you think it's because our generation, we've grown up learning the art of communication? And
Well,
that's really where our hearts Yes.
Yeah, maybe. They're digital natives, right? So they've always been having this digital connection, and they really they know how to work it better than we do. But maybe we use it as like a phone. Like we're so used to communicating and talking to each other that when we're doing, like sometimes I just want to say, pick up the phone. Don't don't text me. Stop texting me. I'll text you about a couple of little things, but if we got to have a conversation, you got to
Right.
not text me because it just is
Excellent.
yeah, it's obnoxious for me. It gives me anxiety actually. Um, so to your question is, I think that yeah, we're more our culture is more about communicating verbally and talking to each other. And so we have a tendency maybe to have more conversation on Instagram. But the key is that yeah, the conversation is what gets you engagement.
Right.
Right. It's a
It's,
tactic.
it's true.
It's a tactic on Instagram. It's a pure tactic. Because I don't think Instagram is meant to be a a conversational network, right? A place where it's kind of like, oh, I heart it. Oh, I love your energy. Oh, I love your photo. Oh, I love this. Oh, I love that. But for it to be kind of like that whole conversation going on,
Uh,
not so much.
yeah.
Not so much. I don't think I don't want to do that. I don't want to have conversations. I want to say, Robin, you look awesome. It's such a cute photo. Yay. But I don't want to say, I was last night, I was lying in bed and I was thinking introspectively about everything we were talking about yesterday. Or I saw Donald Trump on the news and he was talking about this. Instagram is not a place for that stuff, I
No,
don't think.
no, and I really appreciate you not doing that on my photos.
I could. And so could those guys that follow you. Anybody can say anything. So I
Yeah,
think the intention of Instagram is to keep it light, to keep it positive. Um, you know,
it's true.
you know, to showcase your life, to showcase yeah, to just like my Instagram, people might say I need to be a little more professional, right? But it's not me if I'm going to be like that. And I just want to be me, right?
Exactly. Exactly. There is nothing wrong with that. I use Facebook for that. My husband and I do the same silly little videos where, it changes the voice and we sing either happy birthday to somebody or Christmas songs and start giggling halfway through and then I post it on Facebook. So
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I might just do one. What about this conversation? But it's like I'm 63 years old, and my kids probably would think that's so stupid. Why can't I be known as the lady that does those stupid little videos on her podcast? Instagram. Who cares?
Wendy, I will be 90 and I will still be doing the silly little videos and posting them wherever I can at that point in time.
So, do you have anything coming up, Robin, that you want to talk about other than you're doing your short film, right?
A short film. Again, we've got this pro aging meetup going on, and I've got another interview coming up next month on the Little White Lies network, which is going to be really fun. And that's live streaming, which I have not done live streaming before. So people can,
Is
write in
it
and
shot live? Are you saying
yes,
that it's shot live? It's
it's
live streaming. Yeah.
it's live streaming, so people can actually, send in questions while we're talking and
That's
be
awesome.
interrupted with questions.
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's going to be really exciting, and we'll see what happens with that. Um, my website again is going to be coming up. I hope again that it's going to be up by the end of the month. I want to dedicate a whole area to the subject of glumping, which is really interesting, and I talk about that a lot on Instagram. Basically, just teaching people how to play and how to bring a little bit of improv into their life because it actually helps the mind, it helps the brain, and it helps people to navigate and be more flexible in their life.
Oh, Robin, it was so great to have you on the show.
It was so great being here, Wendy. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, that's a wrap for another great episode of Generation Jones, Too Young to Be Old. I'm your host, Wendi Cooper, and I do hope you enjoyed the show. You can find more about me at generationjonespodcast.com, where you can leave me an email and suggest some topics that you would love to hear us discuss. Thanks for listening.